At my anniversary dinner, my whole family mocked me as a pathetic joke. Even my wife laughed as they toasted to our inevitable divorce. I just smiled, sipped my wine. Now they're blowing up my phone, begging through tears, "Please, we'll do anything." I can still hear the sound of my mother's wine glass tapping against her plate, seconds before she ruined my life in front of everyone I loved. It was supposed to be a celebration, our 10th wedding anniversary, a private dinner with family at an upscale place in Charlotte called La Fiamma. I spent weeks planning it. New suit, surprise gift for my wife, reservations, the works. But instead, I ended up sitting in silence while my own family, and my wife, tore me apart like I was some joke they'd been rehearsing for years. My name's Ethan Morales, 34. Married to Claire, an elementary school teacher. We met in college, scraped our way through our 20s together, and built a life I thought was solid. I work in IT, not glamorous, but I pay the bills. I thought that mattered. Turns out it didn't, because that night, right after my mother made a toast to 10 long years of charity work, she smirked at Claire and said, "You've earned a medal for sticking by our family's biggest disappointment." Everyone laughed. My dad, my brother Liam, my sister Bree, even my Uncle Dale. The whole table erupted while I sat there frozen. Then Liam, golden boy engineer, family favorite, leaned forward and said, "Honestly, Claire, you could have done better. We all thought you were going to dump him before graduation." More laughter. Then Bree chimed in. "Didn't she tell me she's already seeing someone more successful?" That's when I looked at Claire, my wife, expecting her to shut it down, to stand up for me. But she didn't. She giggled. That tiny, soft, treacherous laugh changed everything. I remember staring at her, wine glass shaking in my hand, wondering if she was embarrassed, scared, or just agreeing with them. The waiter came by asking if we wanted dessert. I smiled at him, calm as ever, and said, "No thanks, we're full." But I wasn't full. I was hollow, and as I watched them all sip their drinks, cracking jokes about my marriage, my career, my worth, I realized something dark and certain. They weren't mocking me for fun. They were enjoying it. And Claire, my wife, was part of it. That was the night something in me broke clean in half. I didn't say a word to anyone as we left. Claire tried to grab my hand in the car, but I pulled away. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the dark, staring at her wedding ring on the dresser, thinking about every little moment she'd stopped defending me, and started laughing instead. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to watch. Because something about Bree's "she's seeing someone" comment had felt a little too specific. And if what I suspected was true, if Claire really had been laughing at that table because she knew something I didn't, then my family's cruelty wasn't the worst part of that night. It was just the beginning. I guess if I'm being honest, the signs were always there. I just kept choosing not to see them. Claire and I met at Appalachian State. She was the outgoing education major everyone liked instantly, and I was the quiet guy fixing printers at the library to pay rent. I didn't think I had a shot, but she said she liked how grounded I was. She used to say, "You make chaos feel stable." We got married young, 24, in a cheap backyard wedding. My parents didn't help with the costs because a real man pays for his own wedding. I took extra IT gigs for months to afford it, and Claire called that romantic. Back then, I thought we were a team. I thought my family's judgment didn't matter as long as she and I were solid. But looking back, that's where I was wrong, because she wanted their approval more than she wanted my peace. My family has always been the kind that feeds on hierarchy. My dad, Frank, worked construction and always worshipped success. My mom, Diane, measures worth by titles and bank accounts. Liam got an engineering degree and a corner office by 28. Bree married a realtor and posts #bossmom under every picture of her overpriced house. Then there's me, the tech support guy. Every family dinner came with jokes. "Ethan, did you finally fix someone's Wi-Fi today? Or are you still trying to reboot your career? Claire, you must have the patience of a saint putting up with that paycheck." In the early years, Claire defended me. She'd change the subject or roll her eyes at them. But somewhere around year 6, that changed. I can pinpoint when. It was Liam's engagement party. My mom made a crack about how Claire must be jealous because Ethan could never afford a ring like that. Everyone laughed, and Claire didn't say a word. She smiled. It was small, almost polite, but I saw it, that shift. That moment where defending me stopped being worth the social cost. After that, the laughter came easier. My family joked. She laughed. I froze. At home, if I brought it up, she'd say, "They're just teasing. You take things too seriously." I started shrinking, bit by bit, avoiding gatherings, talking less, overworking to prove something no one actually cared about. Then, about a year before the anniversary dinner, things between Claire and me started to cool. Not fight, just distance. She'd stay late at work. Her phone was always face down. When I'd ask, she'd say she was lesson planning or meeting coworkers. I believed her, because I wanted to, until one night, I came home early from a late service call and heard her laughing on the phone. Really laughing, the kind she used to do with me when we first started dating. When she saw me in the doorway, she went quiet so fast it was unnatural. She said it was her friend from school. I didn't push. I remember thinking, don't be paranoid, man. She's loyal. She's just tired of your family drama. I tried to win her back with small things. Cooking dinner, leaving notes, planning date nights. She appreciated it, but it was like kissing a ghost. Then came the family dinner invite from my mom. "You and Claire have made it 10 years. We should celebrate properly." I should have said no. I should have trusted my gut. But I said yes because I wanted to prove that maybe, just maybe, they could see me as more than their family's running joke. Instead, I walked straight into humiliation. And now, sitting here 3 months later, I can't shake one question. Why did Bree say Claire was seeing someone successful with such confidence? Because Bree's not smart enough to invent that kind of detail on her own. Someone told her. And I think I know who. After the anniversary dinner, something in me flipped. Not rage. Not even heartbreak. Just a steady, ice-cold clarity. I didn't confront anyone. Not Claire, not Bree, not my parents. I just went quiet. Claire thought I was sulking. She kept saying, "You can't keep holding grudges, Ethan." They were just kidding. But I wasn't holding a grudge. I was collecting evidence. See, the thing about being the family punching bag is, people forget you're actually paying attention. They underestimate you. That's where I started winning. I began small, checking things, watching, listening. First, I stopped responding in the family group chat. No explanations, no reactions. When my mom texted Claire to ask if I was still pouting, I saw it on her phone. She didn't delete it fast enough. The message after that one made my blood run cold. "He'll come around once he realizes you're the only reason he still gets invited anywhere." That's when I knew my family wasn't just cruel. They were strategic. Keeping me small was entertainment and control. But Bree's "she's seeing someone" line still haunted me. I knew she was lying or half lying. So I tested something. At a barbecue 2 weeks later, I casually asked Liam about work, pretending to catch up. He bragged about his new position, senior project manager for some solar tech company in uptown Charlotte. Then he mentioned something that made my stomach drop. "Yeah, we've been working with the local school district lately. Some tech initiative thing. I think Claire's school's in the mix." He said it casually, like it didn't mean anything. But I felt something click into place. So I checked. That night, after Claire fell asleep, I went through her work laptop. She'd logged in to the district portal. And right there in her email history was a name that kept popping up. Liam Morales, her brother-in-law, my brother. Subject lines like, "Tech budget coordination," and "Loved our meeting, great ideas." One of them had an attachment. A photo from their project meeting. Claire smiling at a restaurant. Not a school cafeteria, a rooftop bar. With Liam sitting close enough that their shoulders touched. The timestamp? 2 days before the anniversary dinner. That was the first time I truly couldn't breathe. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I copied the emails, forwarded them to myself, and deleted the sent record. Then I started tracking her schedule. Not like a crazy jealous husband, more like an investigator documenting a case. She'd say she was staying late to help with grading, but her school app showed she clocked out hours earlier. I knew then that she wasn't just laughing at that table out of cruelty. She was laughing because she knew something no one else did. She was already betraying me with my own brother. And it wasn't just an affair. It was coordinated. She'd made me the joke so she could hide in the noise. But the hardest part? No one in my family seemed shocked by the idea. I think they already knew, which meant this wasn't a mistake. It was a setup. My own family had sat there at that restaurant, mocking me, knowing what she'd done. Maybe even cheering her on for it. I realized then, they weren't just humiliating me for sport. They were dismantling me on purpose. And I wasn't about to confront them. I was going to dismantle them back. Quietly. 2 weeks after finding those emails, I had enough dots to start connecting the whole picture, and it was uglier than I thought. I waited until a Friday night when Claire said she was staying late for parent conferences. She left the house at 5:30, wearing makeup too heavy for a school meeting. I followed 15 minutes later. Her car wasn't at the school. It was parked behind the Hawthorne, a quiet hotel near Uptown. I sat across the street in my Camry, heart pounding so hard it made the steering wheel tremble. At 6:42, my brother Liam walked into the lobby carrying a small duffel bag. 10 minutes later, Claire walked in after him. She looked around once, nervous, but then smiled when she saw him. They didn't touch in the lobby, but when the elevator doors closed behind them, she reached for his hand. I saw it. I stayed in that car for an hour, just staring at the hotel entrance. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. The proof was right there, walking and laughing together like I'd never existed. When she came home around 10:30, she smelled like hotel shampoo. She tried to act normal, but her eyes were glassy, her hair slightly damp. I told her I was tired and went to bed. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I drove to Liam's apartment. I didn't knock. I just slid a flash drive under his door, the one containing every email, photo, and timestamp I'd collected. On the outside, I taped a note. You should have deleted your email drafts. Then I went home and started looking into his company. That's when the real twist hit. See, Liam worked at Sunvolt, a solar energy firm that had recently gotten a massive school district contract, the same one Claire's school was part of. I thought their affair started through work, but it was the other way around. Claire's principal's email chain showed that she had been the one to recommend Sunvolt to the district, claiming a personal connection to the project lead. My brother. It wasn't just infidelity. It was fraud. Conflict of interest, financial kickbacks, the kind of thing that could destroy careers. And if that wasn't enough, I found something worse. Remember that anniversary dinner? My mom's toast? The jokes? Turns out that wasn't spontaneous humiliation. It was distraction. 2 days before that dinner, Liam had transferred $25,000 to my parents' joint account, marked as consulting compensation. That same week, Claire's bank account showed a new deposit, bonus, $4,500. They'd all gotten paid. The dinner wasn't them making fun of me because they could. It was them laughing at me because I'd been played, used to cover a trail. While I was sitting there humiliated, while my mom was mocking me for being a disappointment, she was literally eating pasta I'd paid for with money they'd stolen from a deal built on my wife's cheating. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a conspiracy. That's when something inside me went very, very still. They turned me into the family joke so no one would ever question how close Claire and Liam were, or why my parents were suddenly bragging about paying off their mortgage early. I didn't explode. I didn't confront anyone. I just made a quiet promise to myself. They wanted a joke? I'd give them one. Only this time, I'd be the one writing the punchline. Once I understood the scale of what they'd done, affair, bribery, fake consulting money, I stopped feeling like a victim and started feeling like an investigator. No shouting. No ugly scenes. Just a plan. Cold. Precise. Clinical. People think revenge is messy and impulsive. That's the romantic version. The real thing is paperwork, timing, leverage, and patience. I'm an IT guy. My toolbox is lists, logs, timestamps, and access. I used every bit of it. First rule. Don't make it personal in a sloppy way. Make it inevitable and public. Make the story undeniable. Make the truth feel like gravity. If they were going to treat me like a joke, I would make sure the joke was on them, and that everyone who mattered saw it. Step 1 was documentation. I made a digital fortress of evidence. Emails, screenshot timestamps, calendars, banking records, meeting invitations, copies of the school district procurement portal entries. Every breadcrumb I'd collected over the past month was organized, cross-referenced, and timestamped. Then I printed copies and locked originals on a flash drive I hid in a safety deposit box under a fake name. Real criminals burn paper. Amateurs shred it. I wanted permanence. Step 2 was corroboration. I reached out to a contact from a former job, the kind of person who understands how corporate audits work. I didn't tell him it was personal. I said there might be a compliance issue at Sunvolt that needed discreet review. He obliged and ran a preliminary look. He found anomalies: duplicate invoices, unusually structured consultant payments, and travel receipts that match dates of the rooftop bar photos. He sent me a short, clinical email. This looks like a conflict of interest funnel. Recommend formal audit. That sentence felt like a weapon. Step 3 was legal. I spoke to a lawyer not to threaten, but to learn how to pressure the right levers without sounding like a bitter husband. My lawyer explained whistleblower channels, protected disclosures to the district, and how to present evidence so it couldn't be dismissed as a personal vendetta. We mapped a route: file with the school district's procurement compliance, notify Sunvolt's corporate compliance team, and, if needed, open a formal complaint with the state ethics board. I wasn't naive. This would be messy and public, but it would be structural. It would make them answer to institutions they respected more than me. Step 4 was strategic exposure. I waited to act until I could strike in 3 places at once: legal, financial, and reputational. Timing mattered. If I filed one complaint and then freaked out with a public post, they'd bury it as family drama. So I scheduled. Complaint packet filed with the district on a Monday morning, email to Sunvolt's compliance the same afternoon, and a well-documented tip to a local investigative reporter on Tuesday. Each packet was airtight. Invoices matched to deposits, photos matched to timestamps, bank entries matched to the consulting memos. No holes. Step 5 was my safety net. I prepared for retaliation. They could lie, smear me, or try to paint me as the jealous, unstable husband. So I lined up witnesses: people from the rooftop bar, the hotel front desk logs, a coworker who'd seen Claire and Liam together during work hours. I even had copies of text messages where Liam casually boasted to a friend about the district contract. Small people make big mistakes when they're confident money's on their side. Confident people leave records. I didn't tell Claire anything. I didn't send mean texts. I didn't confront my parents. I kept living my life: work, the hiking group, the movie nights where I pretended everything was fine, while quietly arming the truth. By the time I hit send on those 3 packets, I felt something like calm. Not triumph, too early for that, but a cold satisfaction. This wasn't about revenge for its own sake. It was about consequences. I wanted them to face the reality that decisions have costs, and mine had finally been earned. I walked away from my laptop and sat down at the kitchen table. Claire's coffee cup sat where she'd left it, lipstick on the rim. For the first time since the anniversary dinner, I wasn't shrinking away from the thing that had been done to me. I had made myself visible. I had made them accountable. The fallout wouldn't be immediate, but it would be exacting. And it would expose more than an affair. It would reveal how deep my family's compromise went. I thought that would be the end of the story. I was wrong. The first signs of fallout hit faster than I expected. By Wednesday, Sunvolt's compliance office had opened an internal review. The district froze its payments. And by Friday, my brother Liam was blowing up my phone with, "Call me, man, urgent." I didn't. Claire, though, could tell something was off. She came home pale that night, holding her phone like a grenade. She'd gotten an email from the district superintendent asking her to confirm her involvement in the Sunvolt selection process. She looked at me and said, "Do you know what this is about?" I played dumb. No idea. That was the first time I saw her scared. Not angry. Not defensive. Scared. She said, They think I did something unethical. They said someone filed a report. Someone's trying to ruin me. I shrugged. Weird. Maybe someone found out about your connections. Her face went slack. For a second, I thought she was going to confess right then. But she didn't. She just whispered, "You don't know what you're talking about." 2 days later, Liam was suspended pending investigation. Claire was put on administrative leave. My parents stopped answering my texts. I thought that was it, their empire of lies collapsing just like I'd planned. Then, a letter came. Certified mail. Addressed to me. It was from a law firm representing Sunvolt. Inside was a cease and desist notice accusing me of defamation, malicious dissemination of false information, and unauthorized access of private email data. My heart dropped. They were coming after me. I reread it 4 times before realizing what it really meant. Someone inside had turned the investigation around. Someone had framed the narrative that I had hacked into company systems out of jealousy and spite. And the proof they included? Screenshots. My exact file names. Even the timestamp of the flash drive I'd hidden. Only one person could have known about that. Claire. She must have found the duplicates on my home computer. She'd taken the files and given them to Sunvolt's legal team to save herself and Liam. In one move, she flipped the script from whistleblower exposing corruption to bitter husband hacking private data to smear family. It hit me then. The real game wasn't just betrayal or infidelity. It was containment. My family wasn't just covering up what they'd done. They were using me again, turning my justice into another humiliation. They'd set me up so that even when I fought back, I'd look like the villain. The irony was unbearable. The family disappointment had finally taken a stand, and they'd found a way to make that, too, his fault. But here's what they didn't realize. I wasn't just some desperate man acting out of rage. I'd backed up everything. Off-site, cloud encrypted, dated, digitally signed. The kind of records that could prove beyond doubt who sent what and when. So I waited, quiet again. Let them think they'd scared me. While they scrambled to control the story, I made one final move. A message to the one person in this mess who didn't know what was coming next. The reporter I'd sent the tip to. They're trying to bury it. If you want the real story, check Sunvolt's internal transfer records for April 12th. And look into Diane and Frank Morales' mortgage payoff. 2 days later, the headline hit. Conflict of interest scandal rocks local solar firm. School officials and family members implicated. That's when all hell broke loose. But I hadn't even touched the real target yet. Because while my family was imploding, one name in the article was missing. The name of the person who'd orchestrated the entire setup from the beginning. It wasn't Liam. It wasn't Claire. It was someone I never thought to suspect. The day the article dropped, my phone blew up again. Coworkers, extended family, even my boss asking if the Moraleses in the paper were my relatives. The words conflict of interest and ethics violation were everywhere. Claire packed a bag that night and went to stay at her mother's. She didn't say it out loud, but it was clear. She thought I'd burned her life down. Liam's company suspended operations pending investigation, and his name was plastered all over the news. My parents went silent, too silent. That silence got to me. Diane and Frank had always loved attention. Loved telling everyone how well the family was doing. For them to vanish now meant they were hiding something. I drove to their house the next morning. Mom opened the door, still in her robe, looking older than I'd ever seen her. I asked, flat and cold, "Why'd you do it?" She blinked. "Do what?" "You know what. The money. The fake consulting fees. The dinner. All of it." Her lip trembled. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You were never supposed to find out." It wasn't apology. It was frustration. Like I'd ruined her careful timing. I pushed past her into the kitchen. Dad was at the table, staring at a pile of documents. I recognized them immediately: Sunvolt contracts, mortgage records, and a check from an escrow company. "Start talking," I said. Mom sat down slowly. "Your brother got an opportunity, something big. He said the company needed help getting a district deal. Claire was the connection. We just facilitated it." Facilitated, I said. You mean bribed? She flinched. We borrowed against the house to help him fund the initial payments. We were supposed to get it back once the contract cleared. It was an investment. And the dinner? That made her laugh. A hollow, bitter sound. You think that was about you? No, sweetheart. That was about keeping Claire calm. She was getting cold feet about the deal, about how the money was being moved. We needed her quiet, and nothing keeps people quiet like guilt. So we embarrassed you. She pitied you. That pity kept her loyal to Liam. I just stared at her. The air felt poisonous. You used me, I said quietly. Dad finally spoke. It's business, son. Not everything's personal. My hands were shaking. You sold me out to keep a deal alive. Mom's voice went sharp. Don't be dramatic. You were never going to lead this family. Liam was the one with potential. You, she gestured vaguely. You were content fixing computers. We did what we had to do. That was the moment it truly sank in. They didn't do this out of greed or desperation. They did it because they decided I wasn't worth protecting. I was expendable. They didn't destroy me to save themselves. They did it because it was easy. That realization was worse than all the rest. There was no grand motive, no tragic misunderstanding. Just a calculated, cold dismissal of my worth. I left without another word. Driving home, something inside me hardened. The reporter's story had exposed part of the truth, but not enough. The public saw corruption and scandal. I saw a family that had used me as a scapegoat for a decade. They thought they could hide behind the corporate mess. They thought the worst was over. They were wrong, because now I wasn't aiming for legal consequences. I wanted them to feel what I'd felt: humiliation, isolation, and loss of control. The kind of pain you can't explain away in an interview or a press statement. The kind that sticks. After that day at my parents' house, everything that had been tangled inside me for years went still. I didn't want to scream anymore. I wanted silence, just long enough for them to hear what it sounded like when I stopped protecting them. I spent the next month finishing what I'd started. Only this time it wasn't about proving a case. It was about letting truth do the slow kind of damage that no one can undo. I had records of the payments, of the consulting invoices, of Mom's own texts bragging to a friend that Liam's deal finally paid off, thank God. I sent every bit of it to the reporter under a single line. You only printed half the story. Here's the rest. Then I walked away. No confrontation. No threats. Within a week, the follow-up article hit. Solar contract scandal expands. Family members under investigation for financial misconduct. The photo was of my parents' house with the for sale sign out front. Their mortgage lender had frozen assets pending inquiry. Liam's company dropped him publicly, calling him a rogue employee. Claire's teaching license was suspended for ethics review. The family group chat went dead. My phone stayed silent. When Claire finally called, her voice was flat. You ruined all of us. I said, no, you ruined me. I just stopped covering for it. She started to cry. Not because she was sorry, because she'd been caught. She asked what I wanted. Money? Forgiveness? I told her I didn't want either. I just wanted her to understand what it feels like when the people you trust decide you're disposable. I wanted her to live in the same quiet I'd lived in for years, when every laugh feels like it might be at your expense. She hung up without another word. A month later, I moved into a small apartment downtown. No more family photos, no wedding ring. Just space, clean air, and quiet mornings. The hiking group became my circle. I started sleeping through the night again. Then, one morning, I got a letter handwritten, no return address. It was from my mother. You got what you wanted. Are you happy now? I didn't reply. I burned it in the sink and watched the smoke drift up, thin and harmless. They'd all thought I'd always be the easy one, the forgiving one, the son who'd take the hit and smile through it. What they never understood was that silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it's just the sound of someone loading the next move. Now they all live in the wreckage of the image they built. Liam's blacklisted in the industry. My parents' house sits empty. Claire moved back to her hometown, working part-time at a tutoring center. still pretending none of it was her fault. Me? I got promoted at the software firm. I rent a place with big windows and no ghosts. On weekends, I drive out to the coast and hike until the signal disappears. Every once in a while, I think about that anniversary dinner. About the laughter, the wine glasses, the smug faces around that table. I used to replay it with anger. Now I just see it for what it was. The moment they mistook cruelty for power. They thought I'd sit there forever and take it. Instead, I made sure the laughter stopped. Permanently. And the best part? I never raised my voice once. That's the thing about being underestimated. It makes the revenge land quieter. And a lot colder.